Hello and welcome back to the Final Fantasy Limited Set Review. In this video, I will be discussing all of the multicolored cards and how good I think they're going to be in the upcoming Limited environment. If you have not been to one of my set reviews before, I use a 5-tier system to evaluate cards. It's more of a means to talk about the cards than a true, exact testament to their power level. I try to go, loosely based around where I would expect to take the cards in a given pack, with tier 1 being the best and tier 5 being the worst. If you need to take a read of that information, it was on the screen there for you. Let's get into some of the cards. Absolute Virtue. Oh, also, another thing to note, don't know how to pronounce a lot of these names, never played Final Fantasy, gonna be an absolute horror show when it comes to pronunciation today, so be advised in advance. Absolute Virtue, 6 white blue, 8/8. Can't be countered, it has flying. You have protection from each of your opponents, so you can't be dealt damage, enchanted, or targeted by anything controlled by your opponents. So this creature can be targeted by stuff, but you as a player can't. It's kind of like a Platinum Angel. It's a little bit better than a Platinum Angel because your opponent can't even make progress on you. Like with Platinum Angel, you can still hit your opponent down to like 0 life. This won't even let you get hit down to 0 life. Um, Technically, there are still ways to lose the game, but not really in limited. I guess you can get decked with this thing in play, but with an 8/8 flyer, it's kind of hard to get decked because the 8/8 flyer is just attacking. Um, the thing about this, obviously, is that it is 8 mana. Like it's not like amazing. It does have no ETB, but there's no getting around it. You need a removal spell for this. Like there's no way to like get around this. There's no whatever. If you don't have a removal spell, you lose the game on the spot. There's nothing you can do. Um, so that's kind of where a lot of this card's value comes in. Um, is that you know there's no way around it. Now there are a lot of ways to remove this. There's like any bounce spell does it. There's black has like four different premium removal spells in this format. Um, Red's gonna have a tough time. It is I think the red. I think there is still a red spell that the common that has tiered. I think scales up to 8. I forget. Um, but it's gonna be tough to remove this thing. It's not impossible, but it's going to be tough. Is tier 2 still maybe a bit too high? Maybe. Like, I don't think it's going to win that much. Like, I don't think this is going to have, like, a super high win rate or anything. It is an 8 drop that has no immediate board impact other than that it stalls the game out. It's considerably better than Platinum Angel, which Platinum Angel is not a completely unplayable card. It's not good, but it's not completely unplayable. This is a lot better than Platinum Angel, but I don't think it's, like, going to be one of the 5 best cards in the set or anything. Bolithier and Fran. A 1 red green for a 4/3 with reach. Vehicles you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance and reach. Whenever a vehicle crewed by this creature attacks, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, you may pay 1 red green, and if you do after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So there's not that many vehicles in this set. There's a couple of them. All of them are like blue and white, so this card's going to be tough to do anything with those. It's just going to be really difficult to do anything with the text on this card. It's a 3 mana 4/3 reach. That's pretty good. There's a non-zero chance that you have one vehicle in your deck with this card. But the thing is, none of the vehicles are really worth splashing. So it's going to be tough to make this do anything in limited with the vehicle stuff. But the raid is just pretty good. 3 mana 4/3 reach in red and green is a good card. Um, tier 2 is it maybe a bit aggressive? I don't know. I think it's fine. It's gonna get like it's one of those cards that's gonna get drafted just slightly too highly enough that it's gonna not win as much as it should, but it's a good card. It's just gonna be a little overrated because it's the rarity symbol. That's life. That's human nature. There's nothing that can be done about it. Black Waltz number 3. 2 black red for a 2/2 with flying and death touch. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 2 damage to each opponent. I don't know, man. I don't like my 4 mana creatures to not be able to block 2 drops. Like that's a real concern for a fellow like me. It is a wizard. There's type stuff related to wizards. This is like I just this the whole thing with like black red of like I'm gonna make a bunch of small like wizards and then I'm gonna start pinging people. It just feels like if somebody plays a 3/3, I'm in a horrendous spot. So I don't feel great about this. The death touch, I don't like. Again, it just can't block a 2 drop. That's a problem. Like it's a problem when your 4 mana creature can't block a 2 drop. Because if it does, like you're trading like your mana, you're trading mana down on mana, and you're just it's a good deal for your opponent. I don't. This is not the type of card I'm looking for. I'm gonna be honest. This is not it for me. I'm sure I'll try. Like, this is the type of card that's like, oh, this is fun. I tried it at some point during the format. It's just gonna be really slow. The problem with this too is the town deck that I think is gonna be omnipresent. This card is just it's just doing nothing against because it's sort of in a mid-range threat that doesn't really end the game that fast and is easy to remove. It's like, okay. So I think this is pretty bad. Choco, Seeker of Paradise. 1 green, white, blue. For a 3/5, it is a bird. Whenever one or more birds, so including this creature, you control attack with that many cards from the top of your library, you put one of them into your hand, then put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest into your graveyard. Um, and as landfall, whenever a land you control enters, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. This is really weirdly worded, but essentially, there's a bunch of birds in the set. All of the birds, like most of the all the bird tokens have landfall for the same ability as this bird. This bird, when it attacks, you get to look through your card, the top number of cards, and then you can put any number of lands into play. You can put one card into your hand, and the rest go into your graveyard. Kind of like the weirdly worded. Anyway, it's a value generating 4 drop that has no ETB. Um, it's 3 colors in a set that's not 3 colored centric, so it's tier 3. As a result of that, it's not something like you could pack one pick one this and try to do the thing. I wouldn't describe that as something that you necessarily would want to do because it's going to be really difficult to be like basically if you're doing this you're going to try to be the town deck. I think you're going to try to be the multicolor town deck if you're pack one pick oneing this, and I think that's like a thing you could do, but it's honestly probably worse than just taking a town because you're as good as this is when it's in play, it's kind of like you have to attack with all your stuff, and if you're a defensive 3 color deck, do you really want to be attacking? Like, how is that working? So it kind of has a lot of conflicting elements to it. I'm not that excited about it. I think it's fine. It can generate some value. It's once you get it into play, it's pretty good, but not that excited. Also, the colors are a little bit weird. You'd kind of I honestly would have thought this would be better as like a Naya card because red has a lot of bird stuff more than blue. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. Sid, Timeless Artificer. 2 white blue for a 4/4. It is a Artificer, notably. Artifact creatures and heroes you control get +1/+1 for each Artificer you control and each Artificer card in your graveyard. A deck can have any number of cards named Sid, Timeless Artificer, and you can cycle it for white and a blue. So it's basically a lord for all your heroes and artifact creatures, of which there are several. There are a lot of artifact creatures and a lot of heroes. So this is going to be buffing like in blue white like 70% of your creatures, something like that. That's too high. Let's say 50. Let's say 50 and be conservative. I think 50 is a fine number to say. I mean, I don't know. It's just a good lord. We've seen 4 mana lords like this be great in the past. If you have multiple copies of it, you can cycle them, and then your creatures get bigger in the graveyard. It's kind of a risk to take. You can use that as like a combat trick, kind of a cool thing. If you have one of these in play, like you can cycle it. You know what I mean? Actually, gets better in multiples, despite being a legendary creature. So that's cool as well. Cloud of Darkness, 2 black, green, green, 3/3, flying. When Cloud of Darkness enters, target creature an opponent controls gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. So, walking through this a bit, really, as long as you're getting it, as long as there are at least 2 permanent cards in your graveyard, you're probably pretty happy with this. 3 is reasonably easy to do. If it's bigger than that, it's just a removal spell. The only things keeping it out of tier 1 are, hey, there's some setup cost here. Like, you do need to have, like, some way to self-mill a little bit. Like, you can't just rely on stuff dying or whatever. There's a lot of surveil in the set. There's a lot of ways to self-mill. There's some looting going on. I don't think that's going to be that hard, especially in black green. There's the green 2-drop that mills you for 4 and gets a land. Like, that's helping you. I just think black green is going to make great use of this. It's double pipped on the green side of things, which is an interesting way to cost it. It's sort of like it's not as harsh as a double black, but it's not as unharsh as making it 3 green black. So it's kind of an interesting little middle ground there in terms of the casting cost. It is kind of splashable. The black on this is kind of splashable, which is probably, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It makes it easier to take this card a little higher, I guess I would say. But yeah, I think as long as this is doing like something, your 5 mana 3/3 flyer that removes a creature is going to be good. I imagine, even if it requires a little bit of setup, this card's going to be great. It's just going to be not the easiest thing in the world to cast, which does limit its upside a bit. Emmet whatever. Unsundered. 1 blue black for a 2/4 with vigilance. When it enters or attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform it into a 6/6 with vigilance. During your turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. If a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So obviously it's great if you get to transform it. I could move this up. The problem is I mean, it's 3 mana for 2/4 that loots on ETB and loots on attacks. But like, how good is that? That's really what I'm evaluating this card as, because 14 or more cards at the beginning of your upkeep is something that's not going to come up most of the time. It will happen. It's not completely impossible that it will happen. 14 is a lot of cards, though. It's not easy to get 14 cards in your graveyard, especially in like blue black. Like, it's almost harder than being green black to get 14 cards into your graveyard. So that's sort of what this is being punished for. How easy is it going to be to attack? I mean, I guess it has vigilance. I think this is worse than Dreadwing Scavenger, which is the Foundation's bird that did this, except it was a 2/2 flyer, and then it got Death Touch and +1/+1 if you had Threshold met. I think that's better than this, and that ended up being a tier 1 card. Barely, it was close. It was like close between tier 1 and tier 2. I think this is worse than that on average. Though I think it's still pretty good. It just doesn't have as many attacks. Like, Dreadwing Scavenger with flying has attacks every turn. This doesn't have attacks every turn, so I don't think it's quite as good. But I do think this is a good card. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. I just think 14 is a lot, and the attack trigger is deceivingly difficult to do. So I'm leaving this out of like my tier 1 range. It is. I mean, I guess it blocks pretty well. Maybe for what it's not doing on attacks, it's making up for on being able to block in your slow deck. Is the theory. I'll probably draft it like it's tier 1. Let's put it up there. It's certainly on the borderline. It's the type of card that week 1, obviously, you're going to draft really high just because it's a mythic rare and it's going to be interesting and you don't get to play with them as much. So, I'm going to draft it like it's tier 1, whether or not it's that good or not. That's okay with me. The Emperor of Polymechia. I don't know. It's close enough. 1 and a blue red for 2/2. You can tap it to add blue or red. Spend this mana only to cast a non-creature spell. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Then, if it has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, transform it into a 3/3 with, whenever it attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard. This is very good for a number of reasons. One of them is that it curves into the thing that it wants you to do, which is very powerful on your mana elf. Like, we've seen this with like Tunnel Tipster somewhat recently, where it's like, okay, I play this on 2, and then on 3 I can, with a common, flip, like I can play my thing, flip it, and then I'm immediately getting a counter. Now it was hard to do with Tipster because you needed the Gardener to do it. But this just works with any spell. Like, you have to kill this. If your opponent plays this on turn 2, you have to kill it immediately, or you're going to lose the game very fast, probably. If you don't kill this immediately, it and your opponent casts like one non-creature spell on turn 3, you're in a blender. And there's so many non-creature spells that it's easy to like have enough that this is going to be basically on all the time. Um, yeah, I think this is pretty strong. Like, your mana elf that grows with the game and eventually transforms. I mean, the eventually transforming piece is like never gonna happen because your opponent again has to kill this immediately. But the whole your 2-drop eating your opponent's best removal spell, whatever it is, thing is pretty good. Like, that's a pretty good card. Any 2-drop that is like a must answer immediately threat, um, is just strong. So this is very strong. Exdeath Void Warlock. 1 black green for a 3/3. When it enters, you gain 3 life. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 6 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, transform it into a star 3 with trample. Its power is equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. So theoretically, it would be at least 6. 6 permanent cards in your graveyard is not trivial to have happen. How good is a 3 mana 3/3 gain 3? Which is mostly what this is. It's okay. It's okay. It's 2 colors, so I don't want to take it that high. That's why it's in tier 3. It, on rate, if it were just to be like a 3 colorless mana card, it would probably be a tier 2 card because you could take it early and put it in whatever deck. But because the inflexibility of drafting a black-green card early, I've put it down a bit. I've punished it a bit for that. I do think it's a bit weak for a multicolor card. It doesn't necessarily make me super interested in playing black-green. It's like, oh, if I'm playing black-green, I'll get this, pick 7 and put it in my deck and be pretty happy about it. But I probably wouldn't take this pack 1, pick 1 almost ever. I can't really imagine. It would be hard to imagine a pack where I would take this pack 1, pick 1, which is sort of like, if I can't imagine ever taking a pack 1, pick 1, I kind of put it in tier 3. Um, so this is kind of how I feel about this card at the moment. Garland, Knight of Cornelia. Red, black for a 3/2. When you cast a non-creature spell, surveil 1. 3, black, black, red, red. Return this from your graveyard to the battlefield transformed. Activate only as a sorcery, and it is a 5/5 flyer. When it dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. So tier 1 is probably too high for this, and I will talk about why in a moment. But the rate is tier 1. It's a 2-drop that it provides a little bit of value. It's above rate as a 2-drop. It's a 3/2. It surveils when you cast a non-creature spell. That's really nice. Knight is a type that doesn't really matter in red or black, but is around. It's like a thing that could come up 1 in 1,000 games that it's a knight. It could matter. Human is probably even a more relevant type. It just is provides a 7-drop. It's a 2-drop that also provides a 7-drop later on in the game, which is very, very powerful. The 7-drop isn't even bad. It's a 5/5 flyer, so I mean, there's not a whole lot to complain about there. I will bump this down, and the reason why is I do think red black is going to be pretty bad. A lot of the cards that are like ostensibly for the red black wizards deck just don't seem like they work. They seem like they're way too small. Uh, they feel like they work better with the blue cards. Like red black, to me, sort of feels like a deck that doesn't work. This is just a generically really, really strong card. It's a very good reason to play red black, but I do think I'm going to bump it down, specifically because I think the color pair is going to be fairly weak. Like, the initial rating of tier 1 was without having seen the rest of the set, where it's just like, okay, see this card, its rate is insane. But then I look at the rest of the set and I'm kind of like, I'm going to move this down. I see why they made it so strong. The rest of the color pair seems like it's pretty weak. There are, again, red black is going to actually probably be a fine deck, but it's not going to be a all in wizard making non creature spell deck. It's basically just going to be red black mid range with really good removal from black. And I mean, red doesn't even have like the best of creatures of all time. It's kind of whatever. Like, you kind of need like something. You almost want to be like the full Grixis, which I never advise people to be, but it's yeah. I don't know where this fits really, but it is a very very strong card by itself. Garnet, Princess of Alexandria. Green white for a 2/2 with lifelink. When it attacks, you may remove a lore counter from each of any number of sagas you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on Garnet for each lore counter removed this way. This obviously has some insane high roll potential. It's basically the exact opposite of the previous card, where it's not particularly strong by itself, but I think the color pair that this is in really, really wants this. And I think this is a reasonable reason to draft green white. The there are a lot of 3-cost sagas. There's a common white one. There's an uncommon green one. I think there's another common. There's another uncommon white one. Maybe I don't know. There's a lot of like sagas that this curves into immediately. Where I think there might be a common green one. I don't know. This into turn 3 saga, this attacks as a 3/3 is a curve that's absolutely achievable, and when that happens, you're going to be basically winning the game because you get to re-trigger the first chapter of the saga, and your saga creature sticks around for an extra turn. So even though it has the tax of it has to attack to get this thing to happen, it's a threat nonetheless. Your opponent has to deal with it, even without you having any sagas on the board, because if they don't, the threat of play a saga, attack with this as a 3/3 is real. And even if it trades off as a 3/3, which is pretty likely, 3/3 is, kind of the gold standard for creatures in limited. It's kind of the almost always will have an attack that trades in some way. It's not like across the board, but I would say that in the majority of game states you find yourself in, a 3/3 tends to be big enough that it at least trades with something. And if you get at least a trade out of this and you retrigger your saga, you're going to be pretty happy, I think, with most sagas. It depends on the saga. But like there are some that like make a token when they come into play, like the 5-mana green one. Like if you do this and the 5-mana green one's in play, and like God forbid you have 2 sagas and this attacks as a 4/4, like this just runs away with the game so fast if you have anything to support it. And I think the saga creatures are going to be okay. I don't think they're going to be the best cards on rate by themselves, but I do think they're going to be okay. And actually, them not being good would be better for this card because you could get them a little bit later. Giot, King of the Dwarves. Red white for a 1/1 with double strike. Whenever it or another dwarf you control enters, and whenever an equipment you control enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. This is kind of your perfect red white 2-drop. It's threatening. It provides value over the course of the game. You're going to be playing a lot of equipment. This thing wears equipment really well. This really does it all. I mean, there's not a whole lot to dislike about this 2-drop. Its strength will wax and wane as all color signpost cards strength do with how strong the color pair is and how strong its support is. There's plenty of equipment around, so I expect this to be pretty good. Yeah, there's some good tricks in red and white 2, specifically in red, the 2-drop trick. So this will be this is on turn 4. This is quite the card to be hasting in with your 2-mana red trick. That is something that is gonna happen to you at some point in the format. That's gonna be 8 damage to the head. That's not gonna be good. You're not gonna want that, but it's gonna be on the horizon for some. Gladiolorus Amicit. There's so many I's in this name. How am I supposed to be able to pronounce it? How is this? How could I ever? Anyway, 4 red green for a 6/6. When it enters, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. And it has landfall whenever a land you control enters. Another creature, target creature specifically, you control gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Notably, it cannot give trample to itself, which is kind of a huge hit because it's a 6/6, so you would like to be able to give trample to itself. The card by itself is fine. It's a 6-drop, so you're not really going to want to pick it that high usually. Hard to find 6-drops in the history of Magic the Gathering that you really, really want to be taking like super, super high. I don't think this is bad. It does find any land, including towns. I think I'm going to play this card a decent amount. It's just like any removal spell you would probably take over this. A lot of good 2s or a premium 3 you'd take over this. There's just other top end that you can find that replaces this much more easily than um, whatever than like taking this high will give you. But it's a fine card. It's totally good. I don't have any issues with it. It's just not a premium draft choice, I feel. Golbez Crystal Collector. Blue black for a 1/4. Whenever an artifact you control enters, surveil one. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more artifacts, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. So controlling 8 or more artifacts isn't really a thing that ever happens, and if it does, you've already won the game, so it doesn't really matter. It's kind of weird. 4 or more artifacts is quite a bit. Now, if you can make treasures, which there are ways to do, but there's not so many ways to make treasure that it's going to be trivial to just have a treasure on the board every turn. There's equipment, there's other artifacts. I think this is a reasonable 2-drop. I worry about this not really being a thing that you can do. Like, you got all this, like, it's like, okay, I got artifacts, and then it's like, okay, well, I need to get a creature back. I mean, I should probably move it a little high. It does have no enter the battlefield ability. None. Absolutely no enter the battlefield ability. It's just a 2-mana 1/4, which isn't the worst stat line of all time. It blocks okay on turn 2. I should move it up a bit. I think this is too harsh. So yeah, that's been done. We've moved it up. I think it's just a good 2 that gets you some value. I could see picking this and sort of building around it a bit. Hope Esthium. Guy who knows how to say things. White-blue for a 2/2 with lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent mills 2 cards. X cards, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So this is actively bad. You don't want to mill your opponent. This is like a downside. 2-mana 2/2 lifelink is pretty decent, especially in a set with a lot of equipment and in 2 colors that have a lot of equipment. I think it's a fine 2-drop. I think it's going to get very, very overdrafted, and it's going to be hard to get this into your deck, but I mean, whatever. It's a fine 2, but it's not exciting. Ignis Scientia. 1 green blue for a 2/2. When it enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Any land, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and you can pay 1 blue and a green and tap it to exile target card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, create a food token. Notably, you can exile your opponent's cards. That ability is going to come up a reasonable amount, I think, potentially. Like, it's reasonable. Anyway, it's not an ability that super matters for how strong this card is. This card is very strong. It's a 3-mana 2/2 that ramps you. I believe I did the math and it was like 97% or something to hit. You basically never miss. If you do miss, you can file a complaint with the arena shuffler, and that'll be that. If you'll probably miss this once in a format type levels of missing. It almost always hits something. Is it going to hit the land that you want? Maybe not. But if you have, and again, there are busted lands in this set. Like, there's specifically a blue-green one that is completely broken. So if you have that in your deck, this gets even better. This is already really good. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with the 2/2 that ramps you for 3. Genova, Ancient Calamity. 2 black-green for a 1/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Genova's power on up to one other target creature. That creature becomes a mutant in addition to its other types. When a mutant you control dies during your turn, you draw cards equal to its power. So you've seen this be quite good, these effects be quite good, although we just had one be pretty bad. We just had one in Dragonstorm be pretty bad, the 5 mana 3/5 Elephant. That was pretty bad. Um, and so there have been some warning shots fired towards this card because there are concerns about not being able to put counters on itself, because that was one of the problems with the 5-drop. And there are also concerns with the more expensive these get, the more, difficult it is to get them to do what you want. And so there's concerns. There's concerns about this card. They're very real. They're very factual. I would say that I have concerns about this card, but it's going to be good. I think it's a good card. I mean, 4 is a lot less than 5, and this does draw you cards sometimes. Just makes your opponent not really want to block, which is nice. If you have a way to buff this thing's power, there are some ways to move counters around and whatnot. It becomes even better. But yes, the whole not being able to buff itself thing, kind of more of a nerf than I had originally anticipated. Joshua Phoenix's Dominant. 1 red, white for a 3/4. When it enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. You can pay 3 red, white to exile it and return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. Transforms into a saga creature with the first 2 chapters. It deals 2 damage to each opponent. It has lifelink, so notably you will gain 2 life when it does that. And the 3rd chapter, return any number of target creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile Phoenix, then return to the battlefield face up. When you may discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards. So this is just a really, very strong card. A lot of rate. You're getting a 3 mana 3/4, which is already a strong card. And then you're getting this value creature that has lifelink and just is attacking, and then it comes back and gives you more value, and then whatever. I don't know. It's just a lot. There's so much here. The one thing it doesn't do is really interact with your opponent's side of the board. Okay, I mean it's not a perfect card, but not every card has to be Flame Tongue Kavu. Like it doesn't. Not every card has to do everything. So it's good. It's a strong card. Your opponent gets you value up front, and then your opponent has to kill it or it gets you more. Judge Magistar Gabranth. White-black for a 2/2 with Menace. Whenever another creature or artifact you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. 2 mana 2/2 Menace is pretty good. It's a good card by itself. When your other stuff dies, it gets bigger. I don't know. There's not a lot to hate about this card. It's very powerful. Like the rate is very strong. It's a very, very upgraded version of Unruly Mob, card that I recently lost a game to, which was very disappointing. Sad to ever lose a game to Unruly Mob. But yeah, I mean this is just big upgrade. Menace on your 2-drop is just insane. I mean, I'm thinking about moving this up to tier 1. It is black-white. The black-white, long and storied history of just like not being that good of a limited archetype. So there's hesitancy with moving a black-white card up to tier 1. When was the last time black-white was like the best deck? It was good in Midnight Hunt, but it wasn't the best deck. That was blue-white. I can't remember it. I'm sure there has been one. Yeah, I genuinely can't remember a time it's ever happened in the last like 3 years since I've been playing again. So I don't think it's happened once that it's been the best deck. It's happened. Red black's been it a few times. You've had blue black. We've had blue white. It's happened. Blue white's been the best deck a lot. Even red green has been the best deck sometimes, intermittently in there, which had not been true. Blue green has even been in there a couple of times recently. Black white's maybe due. Maybe black white's a due, and it's time. It's time for black white to be the best deck in a limited format. We had black green in Ether Drift. So basically every other color pair except for like blue red. Blue red was the best deck in Lord of the Rings by the end of the format. But like at this, I don't want to get into this. Anyway, on to Kefka, Court Mage, 2 blue, black, red for a 4/5. When it enters or attacks, each player discards a card, then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way. Cool. 8 colorless mana. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice, including lands. Transform Kefka. Activate only as a sorcery. It transforms into a 5/7 with flying. Whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards. So, notably, this is a fun way to like accidentally lose yourself the game. Like, you can just like deck yourself randomly, like sometimes with this. I don't know. Like, don't accidentally deal your opponent 20 damage with this creature. That's when they're at 22. Like that's a fun way to lose. But um, with that, I mean, with the caveat of it's a Grixis 4/5 out of the way, it's a very powerful card. It's strong. The There are some mind gamesy things about it with the whole like, okay, well, both players are discarding a card. I mean, you're getting so much value. I mean, the rate on this is insane. It's just a question of, is it, Grixis is a cost, and we acknowledge that, and that's why we have it in tier 2 instead of tier 1. Although fixing is prevalent enough that maybe we should have it in tier 1 anyway. It's not the most threatening board presence. If your opponent's empty-handed, do they care about discarding a card? No. So it's not perfect, but and when a 3-color card is not perfect, you have more reservations, but it's definitely a good card. Kuja Genome Sorcerer. It is Genome, right? Yeah. 2 black red for the 3/4. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with the wizard ability that I'm not reading again. No, there's more text on it. If you control 4 more wizards, you transform it, including this. This is a wizard. It transforms into a 4/6 if a wizard you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So again, this hits for 8. Does not have flying, although it looks like it has flying. So keep that in mind as well. Doesn't fly, so, but it will hit for 8. Yeah, I mean, this is a good reason to do the red black wizards thing. Again, not a huge fan of that deck in general because I don't think it's super well supported, but this is a good reason to do it. Worst case scenario, you're really getting a 4-mana 3/4 plus a wizard, which is pretty strong, and then your opponent still has to kill this thing. There is a sick curve out alert with this card where there's a red 1/3 wizard that makes an 0/1, and then you can go that into this, and then it flips immediately. So that's pretty good, but then you're not getting any more wizards. So if your opponent removes this, you only have 3 wizards. You're left with only the one you got the first time, so a little bit of give or take. You also don't get a choice. It just it will transform. There's nothing you can do about it. So if you wanted it to keep making more wizards, you can't have it do that. Notable as well. You could bump this up if you wanted to. I just don't want to because I don't believe in the color pair, but we'll see. Lightning Army of 1. 1 red white for a 3/2 with first strike, trample, and lifelink. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if a source would deal damage to that player or a permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage instead. Notably, this makes blocking for your opponent very difficult because if they don't block this and it hits them, then all the other creatures from you that they block will take double damage. Tier 1 is maybe a bit aggressive, but it is a 3-mana 3/2 that has first strike, trample, and lifelink, and that's pretty dang good. It's pretty good. And it is only until my next turn. I thought you got a whole turn of it, but I guess it does work with any if your creatures are getting in, and it's wears equipment really well. Tier 1 seems high. No ETB. Does die to shock. That's pretty bad. Dying to shock. Dying to shock is pretty bad. I'm gonna bump it down. It's still really good though. It's a good card. Alright, I just went through the list of Tarkir Dragonstorm cards to make sure. Not a single one of the tier 1 cards dies to removal, so I'm not putting this in tier 1. It's not happening. The last tier 1 card that just died to removal was the Big Dragon from LCI. That's probably not the last one, but most of them have an ETB. So this will be good, but it's not going to be busted. But it is probably going to be the best card in your pack, and that's what tier 2 generally indicates. Anyway, onwards to Lock Coal. 1 blue black for a 2/3 with Death Touch and Lifelink. When it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card and then discard a card. So this is quite a good card. The problem with it is you have to deal combat damage to a player. Like you just have to, like you just gotta do it. The 1/3 from Pioneer Masters that did this on ETB and when it dealt combat damage, that was great. The problem with this is that it only does it on combat damage. A 2/3 death touch is not meaningfully different than a 1/3 death touch. It is a little bit different, but I would say that on turn, like it's you can't double block it as well. But are you really ever comfortable double blocking a death toucher? No. Even against blue black, you're never comfortable doing it anyway. So usually you're single blocking. That card was very good. I would have rated it tier 2. This card I am rating a tier lower because of not having the ETB. It's good. It's a good card. I just don't think it's going to be quite as good as the one we had, 4 months ago or whatever. That's my take. That is my take on this card. Noxious Prince of Lucius. 1 and each of the Esper colors, white, blue, black, for a 4/3 with lifelink. You may cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to paying their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, the artifact enters with a finality counter on it. 4 mana, 4/3 lifelink is whatever. It's not great. It's 3-color card. You have to untap to get value. It's not really the type of card you want. I've rated it as lower than the bird. I think that I agree with that. I think that's something that I agree with personally. It's just not the type of card you really want to go after. It's something you can do. It's definitely a thing that works, but how interested am I in it? And I'm just not. I'm looking at it and I'm like, nah. I'm just not that interested, frankly. Omega Heartless Evolution. 5 green and blue for an 8/8. When it enters, for each opponent, tap it to one target non-land permanent that opponent controls. Put X stun counters on it, and you gain X life, where X is the number of non-basic lands you control, which will likely be 1 or 2 at a bare minimum in blue-green. So this is kind of a sneaky town payoff. I mean, this is a big thing to ramp into. Like, get it twisted. This thing is big. I mean, it's 7 mana 8/8. Now, you do need to have some non-basic lands in your deck. That's a thing. That's a thing. And for that reason, you could say, you should bump this down. And that's definitely possible. I just kind of I could see a world where I'm pack one, pick one in this. Like, I could see it. I could see a reality where the blue-green deck is so good that you would pack one, pick one this because the ramp tools are there. And I think that they are. There is the green. There's the other signpost we already saw, which is excellent. There's the green instant speed spell that is also a ramp spell that I think is also excellent. There's the 2-drop in green that finds towns and other land, and it mills 4, so it hits your land drops on time. I don't know. I think blue green splashy whatever town stuff is going to be a great deck, and that's kind of how I feel about this card. I think this card is very powerful if you can cast it on turn 6 or turn whatever. Like, you can cast this on turn 6 and 30% of your games with it, something like that, in blue green, and some like that's. And if you ever cast it on turn 6, you're like, let's say this, like, again, 2 life, 2 stun counters. That's a lot of time for your opponent's best creature, or best permanent, I guess, to not be doing anything. And it's a decent amount of life. I don't know. I think this is quite good. Doesn't have reach, but it kind of does have reach because it taps down their best flyer. I don't know. Seems great. Seems obviously it's contingent on how many non-basics are in your deck, but presumably you're going to be playing a lot of non-basics. There's a lot of reasonable non-basics. If you have to run, you know, some colorless non-basics to play this, it's maybe even fine to do that. Renoa Heartily. 3 green white for a 4/4. When it enters, create a 1/1 green and white dog creature token. Whenever it attacks another target creature you control, gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature you control, which will at least be 2 if this is attacking, because you have 2 creatures. Maybe I should move this up. It's a 5 drop, but it makes 2 bodies. One of them is a 4/4, which is pretty big. It's a threat. It it is a threat, but at the same time, it kind of isn't, because, like, how much do you really care? I guess it's a 1/1 legend. Legends do matter. It's a type that actually comes up. You do have to kill it, and then your opponent's left with a 1/1. Like, your opponent plays this on 5, you kill it, they can still get a 1/1 out of the deal. That's pretty good. It's just like, am I taking a 5 drop? Like, let's imagine. Let's imagine a pack in front of us. Am I taking this over the Black Murder? Probably not. Am I taking this over the previous card? Probably not. Not week 1 anyway. That could definitely change. I could see it being better than that card for sure. I'm not taking it over the blue-green ramp guy. I'm not taking it over the red-black 2-drop. Yeah, maybe. I think I would, because I want to try the wizard stuff. Am I taking it over the red deal 3? Probably not, because it's one color. Am I taking it over the other green-white signpost? No, definitely not. Am I taking it over the blue-black signposts? Probably, but those aren't that good. Am I taking it over the 2/1 Drake in blue? No, almost certainly not. Am I taking it over the blue uncommon counterspell? Never in a million years. What about... Yeah, I think this is just making me land in tier 3 then, because I just am not taking it over any of those cards. Like, I think... I mean, I might on day 1, but if the first draft I was doing in the format was a competitive draft, I would take the black 4-mana removal spell over this, I think. And if that's the case, I think it has to be in tier 3. So I'm leaving it in tier 3. And maybe I'm going to be wrong. Like, maybe this is just, like... Like, we just had the 4/4 haste that made 1/1s be kind of medium. I mean, it was a tier 2 card still, kind of, but not even really. Like, it was kind of on the borderline of tier 3. Like, you almost didn't really want it that bad in Duskmourn. And this is probably the same as that card, because haste is a pretty good keyword. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it in tier 3, and maybe that's wrong. It's on the borderline. Rufus Shinra. I guess we can compare it to this thing. 1 black white for a 2/4. When it attacks, if you don't control a creature named Darkstar, create Darkstar, a legendary 2/2 white and black dog creature token. So pack 1, pick 1, this or this. We got to decide, because these two I could easily be convinced to change their ratings and flip them. So this is a 3-mana 2/4 that can attack and make multiple 2/2s. Now, if somebody were to ever be on the draw, which happens around 50% of the time on average, to some people, this card is attacking into your opponent's 4-drop. Does it ever have good attacks? Not really, right? Like, not really. I mean, the thing with this is it's so swingy. Whereas, like, this is like this, but less swingy. Like, this is way less swingy than this. And here I am, like, telling you which is which, and it's like, I would never take this over the other black-white signpost. Pack 1, pick 1. Has to attack. Dies to removal. Has to have a good attack. I'm gonna move it down. I'm gonna swap the ratings. I'm gonna move this down. Well, you'll see in a second. Okay. As you can see, I've swapped them. They are now swapped. I've swapped their ratings. I think this, like, I would take this over this for sure. I think pack 1, pick 1, because the fact that you just the fact that you need so much to go right for this to actually do the thing. Like, when it's going right, you're in a great spot. It does make a legendary token, so it can't keep doing it. Like, your upside is kind of capped, and your downside is you put a 3-mana 2/4, and that's a pretty bad card. You need a bunch of sack outlets. Like there are sack outlets and there's good ones. It's just like you need to have them. This has to be able to attack. I'm coming down on this. I think this one. I'm still torn on this. I'm still this Riona. We're still thinking to this day, to this very second, about how we feel about this card, and it beguiles me, man. It it makes me question all sorts of things. Makes me wonder what's going on in my life, just in general. Like, how do I feel about, many of the foils in the world? Um, all right, well, they're both going to be tier 3. Congrats. We're moving on. Rida, Summoner of Mist, green, red for a 1/2 with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you may discard a card. If you do draw a card, you can summon for X and tap. Return target saga card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Um, so the thing about this is you really want to discard your sagas. That's really what you want to do. It's kind of a weird landfall ability because often you want to be discarding your lands. It's a small creature. It's a 1/2 in red green, which probably isn't great usually. Uh, I do think the idea of returning like sagas is kind of good. I just think that this card is pretty slow and pretty small. It doesn't block well. There's a lot of value to be gleaned, and I actually do think that there's like a deck that does want this. I just don't think you're gonna want it that much. Like I don't think red green is really the home for this. I feel like a teamer type thing is really more what you would want. Sarah Farron. 1 green white for a 2/2. The first legendary creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 2 or more other legendary creatures, you may transform this creature into Crystallized Sarah. The first legendary creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. The legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. So there's a lot of legends in the set, specifically in white. Almost, I think every white uncommon creature is a legend. Maybe not literally every single one of them, but almost all of them are. There's just a lot of legends in general. It only discounts the first one, but the 2 mana is a lot of mana. You are playing a 3 mana 2/2 with no protection. That is bad. It is definitely possible to transform this, though. Like, that is one thing about this is, unlike some of the stuff where it's like you need 4 of this, or like 3 of this, or 4 of the whole, you know what I mean? 2 other legends is pretty doable. It has to be creatures. There are some legendary like equipment and stuff as well, so it has to be creatures. It does prevent your opponent from interacting because it happens on your combat step. If you were to go, like, there's the sick combo of this into this, right? Because this makes 2 legends. Like, that's a sick combo. On turn 4, you play this thing, and then you're kind of doing it. There are a lot of legends. Like, there's so many legends that maybe I want to move this to be higher. It doesn't work with the other green-white signpost. Do I care? Not really. Doesn't get you any like value. I don't know. It dies to shock, man. It dies to shock. I did put never transforming on the slide. That's incorrect. I lied to myself. That was wrong of me. Look, I'm trying to find the guy who did this. Alright, I'm leaving it in tier 3. I'm being a coward. We're moving on. Shantoto Tactician Magician. 1 blue red for an 0/4. When you cast a non-creature spell, it gets plus X plus O until end of turn, where X is the amount of mana to spend. Spend to cast that spell. If X is 4 or more, draw a card. Yeah, I mean, so if you curve this into a 4 mana spell, your 4 mana spell also draws a card. That's pretty good. It's just so threatening, right? Like there are so many 4 mana non-creatures in the format, so many that I would expect to have this pretty frequently. When I first saw this card, I thought it was terrible, and I still think there's a chance that that's the case. I still think there's a chance that okay, it turns out that impression was actually right. But there are so many 4 mana non-creature spells, and there's so many like flashback cards and whatever. And sometimes you cast like a flashback card for 6, and this is plus 6 plus O. Like your opponent just has to kill this, basically. Um, it is always gonna have like to survive a turn. Like that is one thing about this card is that it's always gonna have to survive a turn. I do think it's I want to say it's worse than the other blue red signposts, but I don't actually know if that's true. I feel like they're similar in power level. Because this one, I mean, this one makes all your 4 mana spells draw a card, and there's a lot of like, there's the blue 4 mana make a 3/3 draws an extra card. There's the blue 4 mana like instant flashback that there's the 2 mana thing that surveils but has a flashback for 4 that draws a card, and then it'll draw 2 cards. Like that's kind of the sick curve, right? Sicko curve out, whatever. Is you play the surveil, or you find a way to surveil your blue like 2 mana spell into the graveyard. You play this on 3. On turn 4, you pass with the mana up. Your opponent can't do anything, and then you just draw 2 cards. Like you know what I mean? You're just kind of like you have a 4/4. You're threatening to have a 4/4 in play and draw a card and all that. So the the fact that it has no power, I do it does it's a concern. It's a concern, but it does remind you kind of that Strixhaven. There was an 0/3 in Strixhaven, like I think it was called Ruotha, that like doubled your spells or whatever, and then bounced back to your hand, and you could double your spell again or something. I don't remember what it did. I remember it being similar to this, where like it looked kind of bad, but then like the rate looked kind of bad, but it just provided a lot of value. I think this is kind of I don't know. I believe I possibly should maybe go a little bit lower. It does not block at all in a set with a lot of equipment, but it's threatening. Like it's threatening to draw a bunch of cards. I don't know. I could definitely you could talk me in either direction on this card. You could talk me down to like really bad. You could talk me up to one of the best in the set. And I think it is going to depend a little bit on uh um how much non-creaturey stuff you can actually do. Sin Spira's Punishment. 4 black, green, blue for a 7/7 with flying. When it enters or attacks, exile a permanent card from your graveyard at random. Then create a tap token that's a copy of that card. If the exiled card is a land card, repeat the process. So you keep going until you hit a spell. Or a permanent that's not a land. If your graveyard contains only lands, you just get all your lands back. That's it. I don't know. I mean, it's a 7 mana, 7/7 flying. That's pretty good. It's 3 colors. I should probably up this a bit because it's guaranteed to hit like something. It's gonna hit something, and 3 colors in blue green is not the hardest thing to do. So I'll upgrade it a bit. I do think I would take this somewhat high. I do think this would be worth like pack one pick winning some percentage of the time and going for it. Like I think this is pretty good. It does make like 2 permanents. Like 2 permanents that are real and do something. It has flying. It got value in an ETB. It does it on attacks too, so it is gonna take over the game if it continues to exist. Um let's not be too much of a hater. Squall Seed Missionary Mercenary, not a missionary. 2 black white for a 3/4. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Not tapped, by the way, not tapped. I think so. There's another one of these somewhere. I forget where it is. I think this one is slightly worse than the other one. It The thing about it is, it it has you need a lot to go right, but like giving something double strike when it attacks alone is pretty decent. Like on turn 4, you play this, you attack with your 3 drop, you're hitting for 6. It's pretty good. I don't know. Like that's kind of what I'm rating the floor of this card as. And I think that's kind of like what it is. I think it's pretty good, but I'm not so excited. Like I wouldn't be like jazzed to first pick this, but I wouldn't be like I wouldn't be like upset about it either. I don't think. I think it's pretty good, but not amazing. Basically, is how I feel about it. Like I might rather first pick this thing than this, because this at least like you're kind of building a little more towards it. This is kind of like this is what we're aspiring to. I don't know. I'd rather aspire to something else, but it seems fine. Tella the Great Sage. 3 blue red for a 3/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token. If 4 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, draw 2 cards. If 8 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, sacrifice this creature and it deals that much damage to each opponent. Um yeah, this is really good if you get to untap with it. It reminds you a little bit of the Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. A lot of this set reminds is reminiscent of the Lord of the Rings set for, reasons beyond it being a Universes Beyond set, but it makes you wonder if they're designed by the same team. They may actually have been. I think that's about the design window is for each team. Anyway, um, yeah, I mean this card, it's obviously great if you get to untap. It's obviously great if you get to untap. The difference between it and the uncommon 3 drop is that 5 is a lot more of an ask to untap with than 2 or than 3 rather. It also has 3 toughness, which is a lot less than 4. Um, like you'd almost rather this be an 0-4 than the 3/3 that it is. I think anyway, because you just want it to live. It This being a 5 drop really hurts it a lot. It's an aspirational card that's great when it works and terrible when it doesn't. So that's kind of how it's gonna play. That's why it's rated at tier 3. Terra Magical Adept. 1 red green 4/2. When it enters mill 5 cards, put one up to 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand. It has the ability to pay 4 and red green and tap it and exile it and return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. So it transforms into a 6/6 flying enchantment creature. That is a saga. The first 3 chapters. Create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary enchantment you control. It gains haste. If it's a saga, put up to 3 lore counters on it. Sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. Weird. Um, that's the token that gets sacrificed. And then the chapter 4, you add double Wooburg, and then you return this to the battlefield. Um, Pretty good, and then you get to do the value stuff again. Yeah, just a good value 3-drop. I mean, there's not a lot to hate about it. You do need enchantments in your deck. The one thing about this is you need enchantments in your deck. That's why it's in tier 2 and not tier 1. Its card draw and card advantage is conditional on you building your deck around it a bit. That's why it's here. Obviously, it makes door to nothingness mana, so door to nothingness. Yeah. Anyway, not an enchantment. Titus Blitzball Star. 1 white blue for 2/1. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever it attacks, tap target creature an opponent controls. I am a known hater of these type of cards. I hate them. Man, this 3-drop sure does have 1 toughness. Like, so you just gotta block sometimes. Like, so you just have to block sometimes. And this card does not block ever. It does work with any artifact. There are a number of equipment in blue and white that make this work. But on turn 3, you're playing a 2/1 that does not block and is really easy to deal with. Dies to 1 mana red removal spell, dies to all the green. Like, it's a creature that green is thrilled to see because green gets to fight something that like it's just I I hate this type of card. I hate it. I really do. It's not. I don't think it's. I have a I have a strong dislike for these type of like creatures that just don't. I mean, theoretically it grows with the game, and there are a lot of artifacts. It's not like there aren't a lot of artifacts. It's just it's a 2/1. It's a 2/1 for 3. You're playing a 2/1 for 3 mana, and it has to attack to do anything. Does nothing on blocks. Onwards. Ultimecia, Time Sorceress, 3 blue black, 4/5. When it enters or attacks, Surveil 2. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 4 blue blue black black, 8 total mana, and exile 8 cards from your graveyard if you do transform it. It transforms into a 7/7 with menace. When this creature transforms, you take an extra turn. So you get to pay 8 mana to probably win the game. You're attacking, you get to take an extra turn with the 7/7 menace in play. That's pretty good. How good is 5 mana for a 4/5 that when it enters or attacks, Surveil 2? How good is that? I think it's pretty bad, personally. I don't think it's very good. Although I guess the Surveil 2 on ETB. I mean, we think about the Otter from Bloomborough, the 3/4 with prowess for 4, and I would rate that as a tier 3 card. This is that, but a little bit bigger and a little bit more expensive, and 2 colors. And so for that reason, I think it remains in tier 3. Like, it obviously has more abilities and more effects on the game than that Otter does. But, I don't know. Am I going to pack 1 pick 1 this? Probably not. It seems unlikely. It's a 5-drop. Like, are you really going to take a 5-drop? Like, I don't know. Locks you into a color pair a little bit. I don't know. That doesn't excite me. It's not, it'll be fun. It's going to be fun to do. I'm excited to put this card in my deck. I'm just not excited to pack 1 pick 1 it. Vivi Ornithur. Ornithur, I guess. 1 blue red for a 0/3. For 0, you may add X mana or any combination of blue and a red where X is this creature's power. Activate only during your turn and only once each turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1 counter on it and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So I put this in tier 2. That's maybe a bit high. It sure does, like, die to everything and does nothing for a little bit. But the thing, you can do some cool stuff. Like, on turn 4, you can cast a 2-mana spell into another 2-mana spell, into a third 2-mana spell. Like, that's pretty good. It grows really fast. If you have a way to buff its power with the spell, which there are several ways to do that, it's powerful. It's a powerful card. There's a lot of things you can do with it. I am worried about the 3 toughness on turn 3 with no attacks. Oh, is tier 2 too high for this? Am I getting baited by the text on the card? The rate on the card is pretty mediocre. It's looking pretty medium, I will say. I will say that the rate is looking pretty not exciting. Uh, hmm. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it here. Am I gonna do that? You really need 2 counters. Two is the number. Once you get 2 counters on this, you're rolling. You're off and running. You're making mana. You're doing stuff. One of my lights is like flickering. It's very upsetting to me. I'm being distracted by my own living space. This is not good. This is bad. I'm leaving it. Onwards. The Wandering Minstrel, blue-green for a 1/3. Lands you control enter untapped at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control 5 or more towns, create a 2/2 elemental creature token that's all colors. Oh, it's not a town. Why did I think it made I don't know. Anyway. And it has a 3 Wooburg ability, so 8 total mana. All other creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of towns you control. So this is obviously sick, kind of. I don't know. I do think the Towns deck is very good. I think so. So if that's true, then this card is probably good because. But you do. I mean, you need to get to 5 towns, like 5. I mean, I guess it makes all your towns enter untapped, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. to do that, just in general. Make your lands enter untapped. Someone gonna play this card in like Modern or something? Amulet Titan, is that a thing? Is this something? Amulet Titan need more lands enter untapped effects? Is that? I'm sure someone will try it. Anyway, someone in the comments post the Amulet Titan copy pasta, please. I'm gonna move this up a bit. I have moved it up a bit. I still think it's like on its own, not a lot, but I do think that in the Towns deck, which I think is going to be a very good deck, this is going to be a good card. You just need to have a lot of towns. You need a lot of towns, which you can do. You can. It's achievable. It's an achievable thing to have a lot of towns. This is also a 2-mana 1/3 that does nothing for most of the game, so there's that as well. But I respect it. Anyway, onward. Yuna, Hope of Spira. 3 white green for a 3/5. During your turn, it and enchantment creatures you control have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. At the beginning of your end step, return up to one target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with the finality counter on it. Yeah, this looks really good, right? Like there's a bunch of sagas in green, white. This will make all of them better. They will have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. Those are all very good. This, gets to get one back for free for 0 mana. That's really strong. Maybe I should even bump this up to tier 1 because it does, just on your first turn, get one of your enchantment creatures back. You do need to have enough sagas in your deck for this to be good, and can you get a critical mass of them? I don't know. That's definitely a concern for a fellow like me, for a guy like me. I'm thinking about, the number of enchantment creatures I'm actually going to have, which is maybe 5. Like 5 seems ambitious. So if maybe 5 things work with this, is that a concern? Now it also gets trample lifelink on your turn, which is pretty good, but it is a 3/5, which doesn't really attack super well. Really, you need to have the enchantment stuff so that you get the value immediately. And if you do, this is insanely good. You're just getting a free second saga. And if you don't, it's pretty medium. Pretty medium indeed. If you don't have an enchantment to get back the turn you cast it. There's a bunch of commons. I think there's enough. I think there's enough to believe. Is there enough to believe though? Like pack one, pick one. Pack one, pick one is pretty good. It's actually better to pick early. Build around. It's a 5-drop. We're leaving it in tier 2. Onwards to the final card. Zidane Tantalus Thief. 3 red, white for a 3/3. When it enters, gain control of target creature an opponent controls until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. Whenever an opponent gains control of a permanent from you, you create a treasure token. So, it's Zealous Conscripts, except it doesn't have haste. Haste is a good ability, but Zealous Conscripts, obviously it doesn't get non-land permanent, so it's not Zealous Conscript. Zealous Conscript is a busted card. It's a tier 1 card. I should move this down to tier 3, I think. I think tier 3 is more reasonable. It's a 5-drop in red-white, so how high can you really take it? But I really like this card. I really like everything about it. I really think this card can be something, you know what I mean? It's a 3/3 though for 5. So you do need to be getting something. You are getting a treasure out of the deal. It gets a lifelink as well. That's something. With the fact that you gain lifelink out of the thing. There's a bunch of big dumb things in the set. I don't know. I do like this card, and I'm expecting to play it. Tier 2 is a bit aggressive for a 5-drop in red-white, but I think this is going to be a good card. Notably, you can't give your own thing lifelink by gaining control of something you control, which Zealous Conscripts you can do. You can do that and give something haste, I believe. Maybe that's not Zealous and it's something else. But there have been ways in the past to give your own thing the abilities you want. This does not do that. Yeah, and that's it. That's it for the multicolored set review. That's it for the whole set review. Please check out the rest of the set review. It's very cool. If you liked this, please check it out. There's other set review content available. I will see you sometime in the future. Maybe this time I'll actually do the 17 lands data review, unlike last time when I just did it and then it didn't record and I got mad and I got tilted and then I just didn't post anything. So that was it was a gamer moment for me. Maybe we avoid that in the future.